September 2023. My name is Kwame Usuna. So welcome to Good Morning Africa. This segment is the newspaper review segment where we try to do post-mortem analysis of all the issues which have transpired within the week. And the most topical ones are the ones that we select for our conversation. Now, let me say a big thank you to Bless Headman Alomaso and also to Stanley and Ohima for bringing us up to speed with what is happening in Ghana and on the continent. And yes, my job is very simple, to moderate this show and to ensure that we ask the relevant questions and elicit the right answers from our panelists this morning. Lerato Musa is a member of the MPP's communications team and she's here seated. Good morning to you. I trust you are well.
There has to be a correction to my name.
Very well, please.
I'm Lerato Musa Saka. Lerato Musa. That's
okay,
not my
Saka. Well, I think that...
Lerato Musa Saka.
Saka, okay.
Yes,
all right.
please.
How do you spell Saka? With
S-A-A-K.
Very
Yes, please.
well. Thank you very much and welcome.
Thank you.
Gabriela Tete, who is now taken to jollof cooking, is also on the show. Good morning. Gabi is the communications officer for the NDC in the Central Region. Good morning.
Good morning, Kwame.
And since when did you start cooking jollof? Did you know that, Lerato?
It's news to me.
I think we should be visiting her.
She used to run a salon. I didn't know she has added jollof to it. That's interesting.
Wow. What's the recipe? You need to let us know. On the front page of the hub, it appears that people have taken
Let me just say that this paper is published and owned by the former MPP regional youth organizer for the Central Region. So I'm not surprised that they want to come and take a bashing at me. I'm going into the polls. I'm very sure I'll get a lot of criticism for whatever reason, but this is not going to deter me because I don't post strategy on social media. And I think that people have to understand something. 2 days ago, I was in a session with my constituency communication officers because when it comes to the limited registration exercise, they are the ones that are going to deploy strategy in their various constituencies to support the president, the flag bearer, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and their parliamentary aspirants. So I won't come on social media and come and post that I had a session with communication officers and these are the outcomes of our meetings. I come on my Facebook to come and unwind. And interestingly, I follow a lot of spiritual content on my Facebook. I follow a lot of cooking because personally, I suck at cooking. I like 10-15 minutes food. So when I see a recipe that only takes 10-15 minutes to cook, I'm for it and I'll share it so I can revisit it. So they should change the jollof to noodles. So when people mislead me and think that you come to some conclusion because of the things I post, there's nothing
like bad PR. So insofar as it is making it relevant, why not? You
but they just got a response from her, didn't they?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So at least you have responded to your jollof cooking on social media.
But
let's do it to noodles. It's 3 minutes.
Yes, I have not like 3 minutes Chinese noodle recipe. But let me also say this. You see, whoever is behind this in NDC, I have a deputy.
I thought you said it was an MPP.
I'm coming. In NDC.
So you mean an NDC member is behind this?
Listen. I have a deputy. If I decide to lay down my tools and call it quit, my deputy is the one who will come and succeed me. They are not bringing anybody else who has not gone to election.
Are you by this suggesting that there's someone
I'm sending a message.
Hey, Gabi.
Yes.
Gabi, are you saying that someone is sabotaging you?
So I'm saying that these unnecessary fights and obstructions is not going to derail me.
You can only observe your internal wrangling.
Yeah. Right, so as part of the topics that we've tabled for our conversation, we are looking at an African story, and as we always do it on Pan-African television, we'll touch briefly on African story. Whether or not ECOWAS is a local pawn of France, we will delve into that, and I'm sure it is arising in respect of the myriad of coup d'etats that we have been experiencing on the continent, particularly in the Francophone countries, and whether or not it has some underpinnings in respect of the French or France's control, of the resources and of the wealth of the Francophone speaking countries. We will try to dissect the issues here on the show. because we have a lot of you watching us from Nigeria, Senegal, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, Gambia, Senegal, Liberia. And Liberia, I think they are going to the polls. We wish them all the best. We hope that democracy prevails. We hope that due process will be followed. We hope that the elections will not be fraught with, challenges such as, malpractices and electoral violence and things like that. We just hope that they will follow the processes to ensure that in the final analysis, the will of the people prevails. Now, Akufo-Addo goes after Mahama whilst rejecting clearing agent tag. And you do know that at the bar conference in Cape Coast, the president spoke and, literally responded to the statement made by John Dramani Mahama when he met with the NDC's lawyers, I think in Ashanti region, I believe, where he made some statements which, in my estimation, even me, found that to be very distasteful. The president has responded to it. Whether or not the response is also in good taste is another matter. We will try and deal with those matters here on the show. IGP appears before committee probing Bugri Nabu today. We believe that it's going to be an in-camera conversation because, he is the Inspector General of Police, and therefore there are some security implications attached to this. So all those matters, whether collateral matters or whether substantive matters, we will deal with those issues here. We will try to go into the minds of the people who will be asking the questions today to find out the kind of questions they'll be asking and the responses thereof. So yes, stay with us. We have more for you. Finally, Electoral Commission begins limited voter registration today, despite court injunction. And it is interesting how we continuously criticize the Electoral Commission for disrespecting or disobeying court processes in Ghana. We don't know whether or not this time around all the parties are in unison in respect of getting the right things done and in respect of ensuring that all the Ghanaian citizens, persons who are 18 years and above and of sound mind, will be given the opportunity to register and to vote and to choose their leaders in 2024. Now, let me start with you, Gabriela Tete, on the first story. Is ECOWAS a local pawn of France, particularly in respect of ECOWAS's response to the coup d'etats plaguing the Francophone, countries, and how they have, quickly stepped in, or how they try to want to step in whenever we've experienced such coups in the Francophone countries.
Let me say a good morning to our viewers, a good morning to the NDC fraternity, and a good morning to you and my co-panelist Lerato as well. I don't think that ECOWAS is a local pawn of France, technically. I think that France has been a strong ally to ECOWAS in the sub-region, but not a pawn. They have roughly about 6 former colonies within the ECOWAS sub-region, and currently their colonies are under some form of imperial rejection by their citizens. And one would expect that, looking at the dominance of France in Francophone West Africa, they would show keen interest in trying to protect their interests. Obviously, they are going to go through the regional body to try and get some influence to mitigate against the show of discontent within their colonies in the sub-region. But I don't go with the narrative that ECOWAS is a local pawn per se. If you look at countries like Cote d'Ivoire, Togo, Benin, which are very close to us, and even the narrative from these countries, most especially Togo, where their president has been in power for so long, and citizens, they go to some form of democratic election, but the outcome is always the same. And amongst all the countries that have had their democratically elected, supposedly, leaders overthrown, these 3 have some form of stability for now. So one would expect that France will show interest in promoting its interest in these particular ones that have stability, and then try and use the regional bloc to influence some political solution to the ones that have changed leadership. Mind you, in France, foreign policy, they try to work with leaders who tow a certain orientation with the mother France. So when it comes to who leads these countries, they have a strong influence in who the actual leaders are. In the case where we've had military overthrows, when their choice of leaders unfortunately have been dislodged, one would expect that they will not take it lightly, and so we'll pull all kinds of strings to try and use some influence to change the narrative and to change the status quo. If you look at Mali, when the Malian junta overthrew the former president, and they gave France an ultimatum, the France military ultimatum, to pack out of Mali. The similar thing happened in Niger, where even in Niger they gave the ambassador an ultimatum that he has to pack out, and when he was when he was resisting, they cut electricity and water supplies to the embassy to show that they want some form of independence of their countries and their leadership and their new governments. I think that ECOWAS actually, looking at the decisions and the choices that are being unearthed and coming out from these francophone countries, I think that ECOWAS actually should look at the interests of members in the sub-region, independent of the colonial masters, and come to the realization that there's a wind of change blowing on the continent. And that wind is a wind that, if harnessed positively, will be to the advantage of the continent and not its disadvantage. If you look at the francophone countries, where even their monetary system is controlled by France, and because of this system, these countries are not as developed as they could have been. If you take the case of Niger, which is the latest in the coup onslaught, where they are the 9th largest producer of uranium in the world. France, which is producing, the French company, which is producing this uranium, buys it off cheap in Niger, and then goes and sells it exorbitantly on the world market, benefiting the retailers and the distributors in France, and not actual Niger. To the point that even when local workforce, the laborers in these plants, went to a demonstration to protest, asking for better conditions of service and wages, the French assembled government actually went against their own citizens, shot at them. And that was what triggered the coup in Niger. ECOWAS as a bloc has to come to the realization that for us to stabilize the region, we have to have a proposal made to France with the help of the overall continental body, the AU. Because mind you, it's not just Francophone West Africa that is tumbling. Other Francophone colonies are also changing. And that should send a signal to the entire AU body that for us to stabilize the continent, it's time for us to be more pragmatic in our approach and send a proposal to France that it is time for you to relook at your financial system. Sub-Saharan Africa and Africa, your colonies can no longer support your monetary system as it is done. And it's time for you to cut some of these draconian policies that have led us to the situation where we are now, so that these countries can actually have proper independence, and not just independence as in you are free, you are a republic, you are a democracy, but actual independence where their resources, they take ownership of their resources, they take ownership of their people, they take ownership of their own visions and build their societies.
Why must ECOWAS have some form of agreement with France? When you talk of independence, independence means that you should be able to deal with different countries as you please, you know. But it appears that you are so limited to the relationship that French should continue to have with its former colonies or whatever it is. That's my challenge.
Because
that they should determine.
Yes, because when they go as a bloc, they go stronger.
Yeah.
When they are united,
yes.
than if they go as Niger coming to the table and telling France, yes. I no longer want to do ABCD yes. with you. Then Chad will do yes. what they want to do. Mali will do, Burkina will do what they have to do. Yeah. At the end of the day, you want some synchronicity because, mind you, in ECOWAS, we are working with the West African Monetary Unit that we're trying to build a currency called the ECO.
Yeah.
And we have something we call convergence criteria, where all these countries within the sub-region have specific objectives to achieve in order for us to be able to realize the dream of the ECO. Just this past week, was the last week, the West African Monetary Unit, all the governors of the central banks and their allies were in Accra here to have that meeting. We are interdependent on each other in the bloc. And it's important that because we need that strong monetary system, we can't just let them go independent of themselves. We are trying to build something here. So we need to go together as a bloc in support of our fellow comrades in these countries and put that proposal to France. That it's time for us to relook at how we are managing the financial sector in the Francophone countries.
Very well. At 9:30 on this show, we will be interviewing Mjiba Freewat, who is a research fellow, Institute of African Studies at the University of Ghana. And we will be discussing revitalizing Pan-Africanism in the 21st century. So you may want to still stick with us, even after the newspaper review segment, to join in the conversation and to share your views with us. Let me come to you, Leratu, on this subject matter, respectfully.
Oh. When it comes to ECOWAS,
right.
and good morning to you.
Thank you.
And good morning to our viewers. I almost missed that courtesy.
Yeah.
When it comes to ECOWAS and all the opinions and people across the continent share, I mean, what comes to mind for me is how we know all our problems. We've been drumming our problems for God knows how long, and those problems are still with us. Look, we live in a world where countries have interests. Countries align with you based on specific interests. Most of the Francophone countries in West Africa, even Africa, were colonized by France. Till date, Anglophone countries and other countries are still with the Commonwealth. So that relationship is there. But it comes to the individual countries and leaders in the various countries to stand up to what the interests of their countries are. So just lumping the whole of ECOWAS together, I mean, it's good to go in a bloc, it's good to face things in unison. But these heads of states come from sovereign countries. Until there's a coup or there's a sub-regional conversation, you don't get them getting into each other's business. Why is ECOWAS coming up again strongly now? It's after the Niger coup. I don't think it's really come out after the recent one. I keep forgetting the country.
Chad?
No, the one who says we should make noise.
That's Gabon.
Gabon.
Yeah.
You know, if you realize the agitation, for lack of a better description, the noise that came after Niger, it's not so much like the one that came with Gabon. So these things, if they are not dealt with on a case-to-case basis, and we lump everything and target France will have their interests. I mean, Niger as it stands has what, 12% power penetration. Why is it so? It's the second poorest country in Africa. Why is it so? If France has such an influence on them, why did the ECOWAS threaten Nigeria to cut power? Because that was one of the things. But when you go further into it, there was an agreement based on the Nile for them not to generate power. So if we don't go into the details of these issues and we want to lump ECOWAS in, I'm sure after us, these issues will still be recurring in Africa. It's time that we start treating our issues as specific issues, have local solutions for local problems. Today, when ECOWAS threatened to intervene, what happened? The people were supporting the junta. You had former coup leaders come up in readiness. What happened? But they also realized that the coupists realized that they need to also engage based on the interest of their own people.
Absolutely.
Because what can you possibly do if you stage the coup to solve a problem? You create another problem. I mean, until we come to the realization that this is the continent we have, this is the sub-region we have, and the stronger it gets, the better for us, and we deal with our issues properly. If you also realize, I mean, I'm not surprised at the linkage to France and all that, because it's beginning to seem that these issues are happening more in the Francophone countries than the Anglophone countries. You remember former President Obasanjo's time?
Yeah.
There's a lot of conversation on he wanting to change the constitution to a third term. There was a conversation that was going on. There was a lot of talk about it. It didn't come into fruition. Just recently, the president for Senegal, Macky Sall, had to make a public statement because there were rumors that he was also seeking to change his constitution to stay on. So some of these things, it comes to how we deal with them. People get offended in so many ways and do that. But when it comes to the poorest, those with a lot of challenges, we also need to look at how long have we been talking about the ECO? We've been talking about the ECO for a long time. But the Francophone countries have the CFA.
Yeah.
Will you credit that to France? So we need to look at these issues and look at them specifically rather than always projecting and shouting about the problems. What are the solutions we are putting in place? What are the country by country solutions we are putting in place? Why is this happening in a certain section of the sub-region and not in another section of it? Why? Why has the 1992 constitution, even if we come to Ghana, even with all the complaints we make about it, with all the complaints we talk about that, the executive having too much power, why haven't we thrown it away? Because we've seen some of these things. I mean, people talk about coup today, but you get people who, on a normal day, will not support anything that the current government do. We talk about against coups. So we need to start looking at our issues in different perspectives. We can't keep doing things the same way and expect different results. It doesn't work that way.
Very well, we're still here on Pan-African Television from Abelinkwe here in Accra, across 46 African countries. It's important that you share your views with us on Facebook and on YouTube. And I believe that YouTube is up because, yesterday people sent messages and said that, they were watching on YouTube. So obviously, you can let us know what your thoughts are on the African issues. It's important that you share with us. Well, Bawa Ba says, good morning, watching from Shelilanyili district in Karaga district. I'm sorry if I butchered it. Msalu Jallo says, good morning, Africans from London, Westminster. Jojo, okay, your message quite long. That people are on your case this morning. No way. Gafaru Janton says, good morning. Nogbeji Kelvin Mawunyega says, good morning. Good morning to you, all of you. Keep sending in your messages. We will read them here for you. Now, let's come back to Ghana. And you do know that there are several other issues making the headlines. And yesterday, I predicted that the response from President Nana Akufo-Addo will change the political narrative that we've been engaged in for a while. And if we were not careful yesterday in my prediction, it was going to overshadow even the voters registration exercise. And true to my words, yes, indeed, it has happened. Now, making the headlines this morning is President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, aka Addo-D. And he said that, Mahama is neck deep in corruption. In fact, he is government official number one. And he is not a clearing agent. He's allowed the state institutions who are responsible for dealing with corruption and corruption-related matters handle all the allegations of corruption leveled against his appointees, and that he has not at all interfered or intervened in any investigation which has occasioned relative to the allegations of corruption. Well, we're here, and we are going to dissect that particular statement together with several other statements. You know also that he responded to former President Mohammed's assertion that he has packed the courts with MPP sympathizers and fanatics. Whether or not it's true is a matter for us to dissect here on the show. Let me quickly turn my attention again to Lerato and start with you on this subject matter. President Akufo-Addo is saying that when it comes to corruption, he's allowed state institutions to work. He has not at all interfered or tried to, prevent the state institutions from doing their work. Indeed, he intimates that he has invested hugely in institutions which are mandated to deal with corruption and corruption-related matters. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Give me your reasons.
Kwame.
Yes, madam.
Where's the lie in what His Excellency, the President, said? We may have our own opinions about how things have to be done. We may have our opinions on how we think someone should be treated or otherwise. But it doesn't stop the fact that we live in a country where rule of law is what we use in our daily dealings. His Excellency, the President, came into office on the back of a lot of corruption and corruption-related issues leveled against the former government. I mean, when did create, loot and share become common? When did incompetence become very common in our daily conversations? When did we've eaten all the meat, it's left with all the bones. I've become a dead goat. All those things came because there was a lot of agitation and a lot of complaints as against all the things that were happening. We had cases where people were said to have been sacked, but they ended up in the office of the president, So we've come a long way with respect to corruption and corruption-related issues. What is the best way to deal with these issues? It's through laws, it's through legislations based on our constitution. One of the first offices with regards to that is the office of the special prosecutor. Today, some of us even in the New Patriotic Party think that the OSP's office was set up to come after the government. That is the perception. But who created that office? It's His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. How many ordinary Ghanaians, how many of our compatriots in the NDC, or should I say opposition, as compared to the number of government officials who are being held to the office of the special prosecutor? Look at the numbers. People who are seen to be people close to government are being investigated day in, day out. This is the second special prosecutor. The first one, we all knew where he belonged. Died in the NDC man. But he was seen to be the best fit then for the job. After that is a criminal law lecturer who was not seen to be with the current administration, with the MPP party. That is how it should be. If you permit me, please. Apart from the Special Prosecutor's Office, there's been a lot of acts and laws, if I may, that have been passed. Some amended. For instance, the Criminal Offences Act was amended to make corruption a felony rather than a misdemeanor. Hitherto, it was just a misdemeanor. Now, by the amended Act, it's a felony. There are issues about people not being bold enough to speak up when issues happen, to be witnesses. The Witness Protection Act was passed. Let's go to access to information, because it got to a point where when you accuse someone, it's your word against the person, because the person is sitting in the office. So they have access to the information. So whatever you come out to say or level against them is an allegation that you have to prove. And what do they say in the law courts? He who alleges must prove. The burden of proof is on the person who alleges. So now that we have the right to information law, it's easy for people who've seen corruption and wrong things being done in our institutions to get the information. And there's an institution handling that. They release their reports all the time on how well it's doing. It was through the right to information law that Fourth Estate was able to come up with a number of ministers that had declared their assets. So these are things that have gone on. There are a lot of legislations that have been passed. And when you also talk about corruption, you can't fight corruption without state institutions collaborating.
Right.
Recently, there was an agreement signed between YOCO, FIC, the police, all those institutions within the, should I say, crime prevention and investigation institutions. They signed an MOU to collaborate. Let's come to dealing with operations of government.
Right.
You've heard about the Ghana.gov, where government services can be paid for online. Every system will come with its challenges. But now you can sit in the comfort of your home, request a service, and pay for it. The money goes straight into government's account. It's not going to pass through any other person to go before. You know, there's this thing about transmission errors and all that.
Right.
You know, you come to identity. One of the things that used to, even though it's still there, but it's not as so prevalent as it used to be. Mobile money fraud and all that. Yeah. Today, you can only utilize a SIM card over a period if you've registered it with your Ghana card. There were a lot of issues about the registration and the share numbers. But now there are offices across the district. And just last week, the National Identification Authority came out with a statement that they started the process again. But this process started way back in 2018. I got my Ghana card in 2018 when I was working in a public institution. They moved from institution to institution, registering public servants and other private entities before even opening it up to the general public. I mean, the best way to get your data, the best way to plan is to know the number of people in the nation. And how best can we do that? It's through registration. Same is going to be done for births and deaths. So in a matter of time, children born will have their national IDs just as it happens in other countries to help us have proper data and plan properly for our development issues. I mean, on the back of the bit about the judges, I mean, I had cause to the opportunity to discuss this. And I don't think the president minced words by stating that if we're going on that tangent of now pigeonholing judges into NDC and MPP, it's dangerous. I think dangerous is even an understatement. So it's the former president saying that when in 2013 there was a ruling in his favor where those judges at the Supreme Court, NDC judges, that is why the ruling was in his favor. The law courts deal with evidence and what you provide. In 2020, when the NDC had cause to take the election results to court, what happened? It was obvious they hadn't even collated their results. They didn't have any data. We were told someone from NASA was bringing data or something like that, analyze their data. We are still waiting for the person from NASA to bring it. But at the end of the day, they themselves even came out in the run-up to their national executive elections. We heard their now chairman telling delegates that they asked him to go and be a witness with no data. Just 2 days ago, Dr. Pesa White came out with a statement elaborating on how even those of them in the strong group didn't even know their coalition system had broken down. And now they had been blamed. And the results, elections, are not won from the EC strong. They are won from the polling station. How well you prepare for the election and how well you collate your results. So when it comes to corruption and corruption-related issues, I think the president was within his rights and within all that we see. All innovations, all new introductions come with challenges. We are not saying it's devoid of any challenges and all that, but at least that step of passing those laws and amending existing laws to make corruption unattractive to the ordinary person. Also, they trying to target as he being a clearinghouse. I don't think, and you can let me know, that the president has ever sat in his office without the person going through due process and say that, oh, you are free, go. Just recently when Madam Cecilia Dapa's issue happened, I mean, people may have issues about the wording of the president's statement, but today, Kwame, you work with people here. You know those that can be trusted and those that can be trusted. So if you hold brief for someone, it doesn't mean that you are condoning or endorsing any wrongdoing. Today, we've seen the circus that's going on. The information that is being repeated is information we all know. We are still all waiting for the investigations to go on. When the issues of the Galamsey happened, who was it referred to? The ones within the police investigation body was referred to the police investigation body. The one to the special prosecutor was referred to them. So when it comes to these issues, I don't think we should be holding the president when people have gone through due process and have been either declared guilty or not guilty. That is how it's a matter of evidence and what the facts say. Right. I don't think people rule or make decisions based on their thing. So if someone does anything wrong and I don't like them, so because Gabriela is now cooking jollof and I see someone eating jollof somewhere, it doesn't necessarily mean it's Gabriela's jollof. We need to be sure. Check the recipe that you use and we'll change it to noodles and be sure that it's coming from there. So I think, all that was said yesterday, His Excellency, the former president, needs to tone down. I think if they channel their efforts into building their party, and we've seen an example of it. Gabriela saying her NDC people and all that. I mean, it's high time they start building their party, and retraining themselves in coalition of results and stop
just
making some of these irresponsible
statements. So, brilliant submission in explaining to the Ghanaian people from the legal and procedural perspectives, you know, what the president has done and is continuing to do to ensure that we nip corruption in the bud. But also, the angle from where I believe the president has not touched is the perception that people have of his government in respect of dealing with corruption. Now, you do know that the Afrobarometer reports the corruption perception index and whatnot, you know, all those other, you know, tabloids and agencies that, you know, look at countries and how they are dealing with corruption have stated that about 95% of Ghanaians do believe that, you know, or have the perception that this government is condoning corruption. In fact, the president is condoning corruption. What gave birth to Mother Serpent was also in respect of corruption. And that is what led to the description given to the president as clearing agent. And I think that it's important that we look at corruption from two perspectives: the legal and the procedural perspective, and also the perception, the public perception, because of the confidence that people repose in President Akufo-Addo. Because of the perception, I mean, the confidence that people repose in President Akufo-Addo prior to him becoming the president, it appears that people are quite disappointed. And the perception is that he is condoning and clearing people who have been found or alleged to have been corrupt. What do you have to say to that?
Kwame.
Yes, madam.
When it comes to perceptions, there's little anybody can do about it. I mean, we use these indices as a guide to. I was just trying to pull up the trend from 2014 till date.
I've asked my producers to get me the Afrobarometer report.
Yes, I think it will help for us to do the trend
analysis. Yeah.
Because from the figures I've seen, the highest, if you're looking at 2014, I think it was around some, I'm not pulling the figure out, but as it stands now, it's I think 43 points from out of 100 as at 2022. And I don't think that's the highest we've ever had. Right. You get it. Gabriela.
In fact, the lowest of NDC. You will do a submission, I might say.
You see, perceptions come based on a lot of things.
Right.
Today, we are sitting in the studio, sitting in Pan-African television studio. But people are sending messages from where? London, Africa, and all that. Right. 5-10 years ago, we didn't have this. So the improvements in the digital transformations and all that has given people access to information, have given people access to things that happen on a daily basis to form their perception. So when we are looking at these ones too, we also need to look at them in the context of it. Does the perception necessarily prove that there's corruption going on? We need to be able to analyze some of these things within the context and the environment and the various influences and variables that come to play in these things. You get it?
Very well.
So we may talk about the perception, but does the perception necessarily prove? Today, if we accuse someone of being corrupt, where do we go to? Either, if it's at the institutional level, that is not going the trial way, it's your disciplinary committee. Will your disciplinary committee use perception to judge whatever the issues are? If it's in an institution where there are cameras and there are logbooks and all that, all those things come into place. So just people perceiving there's corruption I think we also need to look at what goes into this coming out of these things. That's why I wanted us to
but the producers will get
bring the
report
so that we can see what goes into it, and also look at previously all the things that but access to information, people's access, and the influx of disinformation and misinformation. We just saw one this morning. Gabriela is cooking jollof. I know her to have a hairdressing salon, which is closed anyway. So we're from this jollof cooking. It's misinformation. So if we are looking at it in that context, and by seeing that they will say, oh, since she became Central Regional Communications Officer, the stipend she's being given to facilitate her work, she's used it to go and register a restaurant. Does that necessarily make her corrupt? We need to go into the detail. So let's look at it.
Mosai is watching us from South Africa. Says Africa is a must. Well, Gabriela, the statement emanating from the lips of the president seeks to suggest that your government cannot be insulated, or former President John Dramani Mahama is not insulated when it comes to corruption. In fact, he labels him as government official one in the Airbus scandal. In fact, he intimates quite clearly that all the corruption-related matters have been investigated. But during your administration, when there was any corruption or corruption-related matters, the president did not do anything about it. In fact, former president himself was investigated in the Airbus scandal. So, you cannot say for a fact that he is a clearing agent and that he condones corruption and corruption-related matters. Do you agree with him?
Well, Kwame.
Yes, madam.
Let me help Loratu, then I'll jump to your question. You see, I have, but you yourself said it was misinformation.
So if you are doing that,
but what I'm coming to say is misinformation.
Don't say you're going to help me.
I'm coming to
deal with your question.
Transparency International.
No, you are not going to help me.
Okay.
On Ghana.
The producers will bring the
report. Go on with answering your question.
In 2017, when President Akufo, our lowest since the Fourth Republic, has actually been under His Excellency President Akufo-Addo in 2017, where we scored 40 on the CPI index. In 2018, we inched up to 41. In 2019, we stayed at 41. In 2021, we inched up at 43. In fact, this 43 was NDC's worst performance on the Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index. Loratu says that the fact that there's the perception, is that the reality? Kwame, is there ever smoke without fire? We've been in this country, if for nothing at all, under the last 7 years, under President Akufo-Addo's presidency, of which Loratu is a key member, not just a communicator. We were here when we had first year in office, Cole and Associates. And then the fact that our hardworking, industrious, man of integrity, Dalel Domelevo, had to lose his job just because he went after a senior minister and a key cabinet member of President Akufo-Addo's administration. We were in this country during the time when we were even fighting a pandemic. Under the Sputnik V deal, a minister for health inflated the cost of a vaccine. Did anything come out of that investigation? We are still waiting. We were here, her friend, Ursula, and the Kelvin GVG deal. We were here when Boache Jaku told us that when they were told to go and renegotiate the Ameri deal, they even padded it. And because he couldn't close the deal, poor Ejako had to lose his job. And hence the end of his presidential dreams. We were here when Manasseh Azuri's fourth estate went with cameras, did an interview of the chief executive of the PPA, asking him, if he knew about Talent Discovery Limited, which is owned by his brother-in-law and the wife, and the fact that they've been engaging in all kinds of shady deals and businesses under procurement, where were they getting the information from to do those deals? Was it strange to us? Did Akufo-Addo do anything about it? They sent the case to Shraj, they sent the case to Office of Special Prosecutor, and we are still waiting to see what. And this is the case where we saw the thing Philly, cameraman was there, journalist was there, it was on TV, expose, nothing came out of it. We were here when the first Special Prosecutor, Honorable Martin Amidu, told us that he was going to investigate the Ejapa deal. It was under that Ejapa deal that President Akufo-Addo earned the name the mother serpent of corruption. Why? Because he, Akufo-Addo, was the one pulling the strings on how the whole investigation should go and how his finance minister and all those accomplices in the deal should be cleared. And then at the end of the day, what did they cost the country? Our special prosecutor laid down his tools because he realized that he was fighting a phantom, a hydra-headed serpent, which was sitting right in front of him, and he knew he could not fight this fight, so he just decided to decline the offer of continuing as special prosecutor. We were here. PDS, we gave electricity company, state-owned ECG, to private people. There's supposed to be a 2 billion Ghana cedi revenue that should have been paid back to ECG. Up to date, we've not been able to account for the 2 billion cedis. Up to date, the people who were given that deal have not been asked to account for their stewardship. Up to date, we were here when we got recordings of voices of senior party people of the NPP who were renegotiating the shareholdings of the PDS. Am I lying? Or is that the truth? We were here when under since 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, every single Auditor General's report has been nothing but a litany of lamentations and narratives of monies that have been overspent, misapplied, misused every single year. We heard from Public Accounts Committee. We were here when there was an Al Jazeera documentary where an Arab-looking man told us that he has to pay so many people commission in Akufo-Addo's administration. This one will take commission, this one takes commission, this one takes commission, this one takes commission. To date, President Akufo-Addo's Jubilee House has still not been able to even respond to Al Jazeera when they went to Al Jazeera to address their documentary, and Al Jazeera declined. They've still not been able to go beyond that letter. We were here when a member of the Council of State, La Bianca, and her GRA deals was costing the state tax revenue. We were here when Frimpong Boateng, and this is the most painful of all the corruption scandals because this one affects the entire country, generations unborn, our future is dependent on this, and to the point that right now even little children are being born deformed. We were here when Frimpong Boateng released his report that he had made an effort to try and fight this corruption, but the very people who were fighting against the Galamsey menace were people in Jubilee House and people in government. Is that not corruption? What happened to Frimpong Boateng? They told Ghana police to go and call him for questioning, to go and spend night at Counterback, rather than responding to the damaging claims in that report. That we were sitting here as sitting ducks whilst the whole corruption has just engulfed this country from the top to the bottom. And today Akufo-Addo is telling us, and Akufo-Addo and Lorato are telling us that he has fought corruption. All these cases that I have listed, I've given you about 10. At what point has any of these cases come to any conclusion? You raised the issue about the NDC.
Yep.
The NDC is not a perfect political party. But the NDC made an effort to fight corruption. The things she's listing about digitization and how today we have Ghana.gov and we've put many of our agencies online. Ask her, when did it start? She can call her friend Ursula to update her. Go and check our green book where we listed how much we have digitized the public services, Registrar General's Department, GRA, the judiciary, passport office, immigration, Kwame. We had so many public service agencies that had gone digitized in order to cut out inefficiencies, promote fast delivery, and cut out corruption. Passport service. Were we not here when we saw foreign minister troop to passport office claiming that they have investigations and they have people's names have come up that they've been involved in passport deals, and people are now having to pay 2,000, 3,000 just to get a passport that should cost 600 Ghana cedis. What happened to that case? So day in and day out, Akufo-Addo's own government, and then I even forgot the last one. Were we not here just this past few months when Cecilia Dapa had to go and chase her house helps because she couldn't forgo her 1 million Ghana cedis, forgetting that she herself can't even account for the 45 million extra that is sitting in her bedroom? Were we not here when Akufo-Addo in his love letter response to her told her that don't worry, you'll be vindicated. I know you'll be vindicated and you'll be proven innocent. Even before anybody could do any proper investigations on the woman. How much is her salary as a minister of state? And how long has she even been in business to be able to raise that quantum of money? Today, before the special prosecutor, they went and used all kinds of legalities to try to get her money back. And the special prosecutor went back and refiled some new procedures and managed to take the money back from them again. Let me commend the special prosecutor. I know that it's not been easy fighting corruption under Nanado's administration. And I'm one of the people who, at first, didn't really believe in him. But after the few things he's done on the Sisadapa, I think I'm beginning to change my perspective on him. So I wish him the best of luck on that. So Lawatu, on the issue of corruption, we can go on and on and on and know that your government has failed. It's not just me saying this. Transparency International's report is there for everybody to see. Today, nobody can come and do business in this country without putting facilitation in your cost. Because every single thing you do, you have to pay and pay and pay and pay and pay alongside before you can get anything done in this country. So President Akufo-Addo should stop paying lip service to the fight against corruption. He should stop projecting himself that he's some measure on corruption, because when it comes to the fight against corruption, he has just failed terribly.
Aaron from Tamale North has sent us a message, and Aaron simply, where's the message? Oh, did I just miss it? Aha. Aaron says, good morning to you, Kwame. President Akufo-Addo, well, instead of coming out with the measures to resolve the economic difficulties, he's rather throwing jabs at the former President JDM. Upon all the corruption and malfeasance in his government, the Bar Association never saw anything wrong. Good morning to you, Kwame. Welcome back. I think if you think you have fought corruption better than any other government, the Corruption Perception Index will expose you. And Adingo says, special greetings to my NDC family in Bolga Central. Keori, Nanado can never run from corruption. The corruption under him and with him is so rampant such that my daughter in class 4 asked me, what is corruption? Because she says every day she hears corruption on TV. Nanado and his family and friends government should give us a break. All right. This is your message. You want to respond to what Gabi said? Yes? Briefly? Yes, madam.
Gabi went round, jumped round the whole place and came back to having a lot of confidence in the OSP, whose creation is the office of the OSP, and who is the OSP investigating that she's excited about. So you see, our compatriots like Gabriela, consistency is also part of the game. Let's be consistent. If we are going to talk about corruption, you see, I shy away from bringing back their crimes, because scandals, corruption, what even motivated His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to make corruption one of his key campaign messages was how rife he had become. You remember when they used ABFA funds, ring fence funds for branding of buses? What can you compare to that? Bus branding. You remember Jida, you remember Sada, and Gabriela should tell me, in all this that she said, how many MPP officials from President Kufuor's time till now have been jailed How many? She tell me one.
Respond to that, and then we'll move to the next topic.
She tell me
I think that the NDC fraternity has learned
a number of them.
Okay.
The NDC fraternity has learned.
That time that they started chasing the law courts were there. Nobody went and just picked anybody and put them in jail. They went through due process, something that they are not used to. So it's like everything due process, they must hit at it.
Right.
Today, you went round and said you have confidence in the office of the special prosecutor. Government official one, who said it? Who revealed it?
Martin Amidu.
Who is
The
Martin
same
Amidu?
person who told you your president is
Today, the same Martin Amidu. You've seen his latest write-up
Yeah.
with respect to the office of the special prosecutor. These are some of the things that form the perceptions. Even with the report that Gabi is referring to, what did he say about public servants? Not long ago, when they were ranking most corrupt institutions, we also the institutions that were ranked as being most corrupt. Did you see the office of the president of government machinery?
That's number one.
You get it? Go and look at that report. Go and look at
They are number one.
Gabriela, I don't know the report. Go and look at it. I was trying to pull it out. I'll show it to you. You get it? But you see, in all these things that we say, one thing I always tell our compatriots, that we are building a nation. Sometimes it's very sad for us to go back referring to some of the crimes they committed, because I mean that's the main reason why the people of Ghana let them go.
Gabi, respond to it,
needs
and then
to be consistent.
Yeah, respond to it, and then
say
also,
what it is. Not because she's sitting as NDC.
Right. Very well. Thank you.
You sit here as a Ghanaian first.
All right, so thank you. Gabi, respond to it, and also respond to the statement by many that it was irresponsible on the part of the former president to have made the statement that Akufo-Addo is, packing the courts with MPP fanatics, and when he
we are talking about corruption.
So no, I mean it was part of it.
It was
I mentioned
part of
it. So please
the
proceed.
statement. Why running away from it?
Akufo-Addo goes after Mahama.
Talk about President Mahama. Stop running away
I
from
have
it.
the discretion to ask any question I want.
She said,
stop running away from
she
it.
asked about Jida.
Just be bold and say it's irresponsible.
Kwame, sadly for us, as patriots, democratic patriots of this land, just to show that our government had a no-nonsense approach to the fight against corruption. In the investigations in Jida, aside reforms that we did to Jida, to the YAA and the YES program we've come to rename, one of our one of our strong northern patriots unfortunately had to pay the price and was jailed. Honorable Abugapeli. In Sada, what is about Sada? You came, what investigations have you done on Sada you've been able to send anybody anywhere? The mistake of the NDC, when we came into power 2008, was this father for all thing, just so that we could focus on getting the governance in motion. But I think that the NDC has learned the lesson. That father for all is not going to happen again. And that's, we can assure the people of Ghana, that 2024, when they give us the mandate, there will be no mercy in the fight against corruption. She talks about the special prosecutor and whose creation. Since 2018 that you created as a special prosecutor, they were complaining of vehicles, lack of human resources. In fact, it was just in 2022 that they even gave them clearance to recruit some new investigators and prosecutors, and for them to even acquire some fleet of vehicles to manage their operations. From 2018 that you set them up, it took you 4 years to resource this institution. And then you want to come and tell me that afterwards my creation, you are serious about the fight against corruption, and that is how you treat an agency that you want to fight corruption. In any case, when the Office of State Prosecutor was set up, it's supposed to be an independent body. Am I not? Am I wrong? It's an independent body. So from the very time that you created this vehicle, you should have resourced it to hit the ground running, to cut off that independence of you. But because the government wanted to have some control and manipulate it, and that was what Martin Amidu suffered under that office, they deliberately withheld resources from that office. Now, they have development partners and the rest who have now come in to support that office so that they can actually live up to their name and be seen to be doing something tangible in the fight against corruption. When I gave them credit, I said that I'm changing my position on that office because I was one of those ones who, look, since 2018 that they came, they have only 3 cases in prosecution. They have a whole litany, almost 100 cases, investigation. When are you going to stop investigation and go in prosecution? When you only have three cases in prosecution? In terms of your efficiency, you are still not there. But the point I'm making is that when I see the focus on how they are handling this Cecilia Dapa issue now, that is what's giving me some level of confidence in the Office of Special Prosecutor. It doesn't mean that I am totally overwhelmed by the Office of Special Prosecutor. Then your issue about the issue on the parking of the court. Kwame, I can give you a whole list of people whose background is from NPP, who have been made appeal court judges and taken to the Supreme Court. What Mahama said, it is factually correct. Let us not come and pretend
to say what is irresponsible, what is factually correct. It's out of line.
Please, it is factually correct. The Ghana Bar Association and the judiciary, there's a lot of hope in that arm of government, because at the end of the day, for democracy to thrive, justice and liberties have to be ensured. But if those people are political and then they take political decisions, who will believe the judiciary?
What is your definition of political decision? Hold on.
But let's provide that list and prove to us how those people...
I'm not interested. I'm not interested in the list.
You see, this is what NPP does. The defense they always put up is that, but they are qualified. Everybody knows.
Are you saying that they don't have the moral turpitude
You say these
to
things about
distinguish
people and you expect them to...
between even if assuming, without admitting that they were even MPP people, are you saying that by reason of occupying that office of the judiciary, they would not exhibit, that moral turpitude to deal with issues in respect, in accordance with the law? Is that what you're saying?
That is why we give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yes, so give them the benefit of the doubt. But
the fact is that what Mahama also said is true. The fathers have given the benefit of doing that. You want me to put people's names out? There are people who say
I'm not interested in the names.
I want to put out their names. But there are over 100 names. I can show you, but I'll not put their names out. For the security of the judiciary.
We're not going to put it out. We're not going to put it out.
Yes, we're not putting anybody's out.
We're not going to put it out. I will not use my platform to...
But
the fact is that it is the professional credibility. And we expect that those people will live up. We expect that those people will live up to a certain higher standard.
Yes.
In delivery of justice.
And they live up to it.
Yes.
But my question is this: is it bad for President Akufo-Addo, in your estimation, to pack the courts with, in your estimation, MPP people? Is it bad?
Has he packed the courts?
Oh, no, hold on. I just want to ask a question. Is it bad, Gabriela? Is it bad?
Let her put the names out and let's see if they won't come after her.
I just want to ask.
She can't answer.
Respectfully, please. Let's have a show. Is it bad?
You see.
Is it bad?
I should put people's names when you come after me.
Let's stop.
Let's have a very nice show.
As if I'm not fighting enough demons already.
Gabriela, is it bad?
Of course, there are demons in your party.
Is it bad? In your estimation, is it bad?
I will not answer that question.
You will not answer that question. Let's move on. Let me go for this quick commercial break. On my return, there are other issues that we're going to be dealing with this morning on the show. Let me remind you that we are streaming on Facebook and on YouTube as well. So you may want to share with us your views and comments via those platforms. When we are back, IGP appears before committee sitting, committee probing Bugri Nabu. And finally, the Electoral Commission begins limited voter registration today, despite court injunction. Stay with us, don't move a muscle. It gets interesting after this.
information.
But ask.
Me, I have still not got the money for that list of expensive building materials you sent to me. The price of the iron rods have been increased too much, had I?
Madam, relax. Look, that's not why I did call you. I just visited IPCP, where the engineers told me everything about Trasacco fast floor.
Trawanko, please, those people are expensive. Are they not the people building those big houses in town? I beg going to
Madam, in fact, I used to think the same until I visited their office today, and they gave me an estimate of how much it will cost. No, the estimate is real. It's cheaper than the one I even sent you.
Wow.
Building contractors, foremen, masons. Visit IPCP, the Trasacco Fast Floor. Engineers will assist you build an affordable, faster and stronger building.
Oh, madam. It is done.
Wow.
Trasacco Fast Floor. Stronger, faster and affordable.
This is a Trasacco construction product.
That quick commercial break. This is still the newspaper review segment here on Pan-African Television, broadcasting from Abilikpe here in Accra across 46 African countries. I saw a message from Nigeria. I can't find it again, but I'll find it and read it. It's from Ezekiel in Abuja in Nigeria. I will find that message and I'll read it. We are still here in the studios with Lerato Musa Saka and also Gabriela Tete. We are discussing, or we have discussed, some very important issues on the continent and also in Ghana. We looked at, President Akufo-Addo going after Mahama whilst rejecting clearing agent tag. Now, the IGP will be before the committee probing the Burkina Abu saga today. It's going to be an in-camera conversation. So I don't think that we'll spend a lot of time here because we've not listened to him. In my estimation, and let me come to you, Gabi, I don't see the need for the invitation of the IGP because I believe that, it's just a matter that is so axiomatic to all, that this is a ploy, a plot, whatever it is, even though the committee has not come up with its finding. But it's clear, from the tape that this is what COP Mensa wanted to do, and it's in the public domain. Why invite the IGP? Are you inviting the IGP to agree with the fact that he's mismanaging, the service as alleged by COP Mensa, or you're inviting him to do what? These are the questions that I have, and I don't know if you have answers to them.
Frankly, I think that it is fair for the IGP to be invited by the committee, because clearly the content of the tape had all of us worried. And we're also worried about how a conversation that was between some people could be leaked out into the public domain. This can happen to anybody. And more so especially because of the position of the IGP and the institution involved. This goes to the heart of the morale of the men and women of the Ghana Police Service, especially to see that there are some people from different ranks in the service planning the overthrow of their commander-in-chief. So clearly, it is a worrying issue, and one that I think the committee has nailed it right on the head by inviting the IGP. There are a lot of issues that have been said in camera that we, the general public, are not privy to. And it's also important that for a person, the caliber of the Inspector General of Police, these issues are discussed in camera. Mind you, he's still the sitting IGP. And it's not every information that you need in the public arena concerning what is going on. So it's fair that he's also been invited to get to the bottom of how was the tape leaked and how did you find out about this meeting and the claims that they've leveled against you. Are they true or are they not true? And then also this also goes to the, Dr. Dan Parry personally, that leadership is a position where everybody will questions you, because everybody has an idea how it is that you should do your job and you should perform. But at the end of the day, when you think that what you are doing is the right thing, you keep at it and keep going.
Very well. Lotto. Yes, sir.
See, one thing I always say is the fact that you are in a position doesn't mean you should be opposed to everything that is happening or just suspect things just because you hear the name of your opponent in it. Why do I say so? See, this issue could have been dealt with, but our compatriots edge just because they had a former chairman of the MPP was involved. They virtually lost the whole plot that this was about the police, the institution, that when we are having our events, we go and call them to come and protect us.
Right.
When the police meets you, apart from some of us who occasionally they see on air and well-known public figures, the police doesn't see you immediately and know whether you are party O or party B. They are supposed to protect all of us. So when it comes to issues to do with the police, we need to be careful. And these are some of the things perceptions create. We all have police friends. I'm sure you've engaged your police friends and other people related to the police when this issue broke. And you've heard, I'm sure you heard a lot of things that you are wondering how some of these issues will be dealt with. So for me, the invitation of the Inspector General of Police is totally in order to bring some sanity to our police service. Look, I was speaking to a police friend, and he was like, my sister, because the police is an institution that cannot go on demonstrations, that cannot come out publicly and make their issues known. They hold back a lot of things. So when you are going to probe a policeman and you don't do it in camera, you may miss a lot of things. And I think that is what we missed a bit in the beginning. But it's not too late. The issues that will come up, I just hope will be dealt with, and dealt with well, devoid of partisan leanings. And make sure that we put the police service where the police service should be. Because the moment you hear that there's Bugri in Abu, they're going to give the report to the president, people want the IGP out, we need to be careful. Some of these perceptions can let us take positions that will hurt all of us. So it's in order, and we all need to support the process.
Just a few seconds.
We never lost the plot. In fact, we don't even care about Bugri in Abu. Our interest was in what the DC or COP Mensa said about election monitoring and election security. We were interested because we were in this country where our fellow comrades were shot in Techiman South by security operatives just because they went to witness vote counting. And to date, nobody has been held responsible. No probe, no commission, nothing. They've just died for nothing. We were here when this man's recording told us that in Ase North, they had their plan, and it was Dan Parry who dampened their plan and how they were going to deploy security people, because apparently he teaches elections day security monitoring at the training school. So he has some inside information on how elections security is provided and where the loopholes are for political advantage. That is where NDC is interested in this issue.
All right.
You understand? So the plot has never been lost on us.
You see, a statement virtually vindicates what I said.
No,
see, rather than going into the
to
issues with clear thing, look, nobody has to lose their nobody has to lose their life just because they went witnessing things. But these are things that have investigations going on.
So
but you see, when you hear a post, government doesn't investigate crime. The institutions investigate crime. Get that right.
You have a president who is commander-in-chief of the armed forces. The very many who went on their knees and shot the citizens.
Has shown that when you are capable of doing the job, he puts you there and supports you. You remember the Auditor General? The first, when you were speaking at some Occupy Ghana program, he lauded the executive for the support. Remember when 2017 when we came into power, the first directive was no purchase of cars, but the Auditor General was giving the permission to buy over 30 cars just to make their work effective.
Oh,
These are the issues I'm talking about.
Well.
So if you go and
Let's proceed. Let's proceed. I think that
if you go and
you
hear
disagree on this matter.
And they still not talking about compromise on age. Today they rushed. Can Adefa, over 60 years old, is still chief executive of National Identification Authority.
Thank you, Loretta. Thank you. On this matter, I think that on this matter we are okay. Now, an injunction is a judicial restraining, a judicial order restraining a person from beginning or continuing an action threatening or evading the legal right of another or compelling a person to carry out a certain act, example, to make restitution to an injured party. Now, in respect of the limited voting registration exercise, the NDC, together with some other political parties, sought to injunct the whole exercise. The injunction was filed, amongst others, I think it's in respect of constitutional interpretation, because they fell on articles 1, 2, 21 and 130 of the Constitution. And they sought clarity in respect of Article 45, or I believe 45 or 48 of the Constitution. I can't really recall the articles that they sought to rely on. But it appears that in the estimation of the NDC and the other political parties that sought that judicial order from the court, the EC has still gone ahead and is beginning the limited voter registration exercise today. Well, it's in a legal fraternity, it may be described as contemptuous. Why the EC went on, we don't know, because the matter is still sub judice. The court has not yet made a determination whether or not to grant the injunction or not to grant the injunction. Loretta, let me start with you and I'll end there. Yeah, I'm also wondering.
Talking about an injunction.
Yeah.
But in another breath, the flag bearer of NDC is feeling about a date. And well, educate me. But what I know is that legally it's only a court that can grant an injunction.
Absolutely.
So if there hasn't been any form of granting of an injunction by the court, how do we say there is an injunction on the process? Maybe
the application
is automatically an injunction?
No, it's not. The court has to make a determination.
Has the court done that? They don't even have a date.
I agree with you, but the moral thing that anybody will do when there's an injunction application is to halt the process pending the determination of the court. Because when you do it, then it appears to the ordinary mind that you are preempting the outcome of,
so we are
of the court.
moving from the legal procedure to morality?
No. I'm saying that the legal procedure is what ought to be done. But the court has not made a final determination. As to whether or not the court will injunct, the EC doesn't know.
Exactly.
So wait for the court to make its determination before you proceed.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the point.
That's the legal thing. I'm not a legal person, so I won't pretend to be, but what I know is
but injunction application for injunction is not automatic.
Exactly.
So the person can
exactly.
But when
so
the court
what I know is
it, then,
the court has to grant an injunction
that you are right.
for it. And from what is happening, the parties at IPAC raise their issues. EC explained to them. I'm not here to speak to the EC. I'm not here to rationalize why the EC would decide to use their district assembly. As a member of the New Patriotic Party, what we are interested in is getting a credible register, because we believe no electoral commission wins an election for any party. It's the processes you put in place, how strong you make your structures, and how well you pay attention to the processes that input into the election and give the outcome. So all our urge until the court determines anything, I'll urge our grassroots from the polling station, electoral area, constituency, regional executives and party members to take keen interest in this exercise until the court says otherwise. The EC has issued a public notice. They are going ahead. It started today. Let's show the best of interest, because elections are determined by the people who show up.
But this perennial sort of way that the EC deals with court injunction is becoming one too many, because in the past we've seen that every time there's been such an application, the EC defies that and continues to go ahead with whatever it wants to do. Is the EC deliberately flouting
Well, I would need
rules
to
and procedure just because they want to satisfy themselves? I mean, it's a question that we must ask everybody.
I will need to brace myself with some of these things. But the last one I remember was when the NDC were going to have their elections.
Yes.
And they went to the EC.
Yeah.
They're already in court with the EC. And the EC made it clear that if we are in court, then we can't do what you're asking us to do. You know, so for me, there have been issues on end. You remember the registration and all that. You remember the famous Abu Ramadan case and all that, using the national health insurance and all that. I will be wrong if I say I identify with what you're saying. But at the end of the day, the EC, probably if you talk to someone at the EC, they can give you a better explanation to this. But what I know is the EC is mandated by the Constitution and by the sub-legislations. I mean, one of the common ones is the CI 91, which they are even seeking to amend before 2020 election. They're actually seeking to amend it before district level election, but it hasn't been successful. So as amended before 2020, that's what we are using. They've come out, they have their mandate, they are running their mandate. As it stands in the current situation, there has been no order from the court stopping them from doing it. As an interest party, they are fulfilling their mandate. We also have to fulfill ours. Like I said, elections are determined by those who show up, not what the EC does. Because today, if you start and the court says they can go ahead, would have lost some time, you know. So until the court says otherwise, I would just urge people in our party to just go ahead with the process. I mean, 18, if you are 18 years, you just turned 18, or for some reasons you couldn't register in the last registration window, please do well to let's encourage everybody to do it. Let's assist the disabled to also be able to go and register. That's what makes you part of the decision-making process. So that's all I'll say in relation to that.
Right. I'm looking for the specific constitutional provision which enjoins Ghanaians to exercise their franchise.
It's 43,
without
44, 45.
Yeah. So
That's
I was looking at
what covers
45, but it doesn't yet.
EC.
But if you may find it for me. Now, and not to preempt the outcomes of the injunction and the court proceedings, but I think it's quite clear that Ghanaians must exercise their constitutional right, one of which is to vote. Now, if you are organizing a voters registration exercise, and that exercise seeks to deprive Ghanaians from registering and eventually exercising their constitutional right, are you not deliberately preventing people from exercising that constitutional right? And are you not also disrespecting or violating the provisions of the Constitution, even though your work also falls within the purview of the Constitution?
Like I said,
because the argument is this. The argument, and I think some of the MPP communicators have even sort of raised the same concerns,
that's
that
what I'm saying,
you need to allow people to register, because if you are limiting the exercise within the confines of the district, then what about those who live overseas? What about those who live, you know, in the outskirts of town? How do you expect those people to exercise their franchise and to vote and elect a leader?
That's why I said that I'm not here to rationalize the EC's choice of venue for the registration. There's limited registration that comes up before every major election.
Precisely.
There's going to be the district level election in on 19 December, right? They announced it. Thereabout. There's going to be district level election. They are opening limited registration. They are taking their CI to Parliament to amend it so they can use it. It's still in the balance. They've come out with their announcement. I don't think they did it on the blind side of their stakeholders, the political parties. The political parties disagree. And from what I've read, they don't disagree with the process. They just disagree with the venues that they are demarcating for that, which is fair. But what I'm saying is they are fulfilling their mandate. They said within our constraint, this is what we can do. I am not here to speak for the EC. Whatever the court says is what we all abide by. But until the court says stop or otherwise, the process has started. That is the interest of me and my party. Because today, if the case that has been taken to court tells you that based on the constraints of what, and that's not to prejudice what the outcomes of the suit that has been filed. If the court says, then what would have happened to us trying to get our people on the ballot to be part of the decision making? So that's what I'm saying. Whatever rationalization went to do it, that's the EC to answer. That is not.
But don't you think that we need to, as political parties and as agents and people who have, you know, great interest in our democracy, and I say democracy generally because it is this exercise that has continued to sustain the young democracy that we enjoy, that we question the EC and subject them to strict responsibilities so that in the final analysis everybody will be satisfied.
Yes.
Is it not logical that you would expand the process, take it to the nook and cranny of this country so that everybody will take advantage of this exercise? Because as it stands now, some people are disadvantaged.
Kwame.
Especially my friends in the north.
Kwame.
Yes, madam.
As I sit here,
yes, please.
I can't find my voter card. I need to go and do a replacement.
That reminds me, I have to look for mine.
Around the time that they are going to do the replacement, I'm within there because I may be on a work assignment and all that. I'm thinking about it. I will wish that the EC will bring it to my house to register. You get it? Yeah. I will wish that when I get out of my house, I can register. Or where I'm going to, I can get access to register. But what we all want may not be the case. I said, of course, if you go to my constituency, Yape Kosogo constituency, from my village, Empa, or when I say my city, sorry, I call it my city. When my city in Empa to the district capital, that's BP, it's more than 52 kilometers.
Well, it's far.
You get it? So if I'm living in, somewhere is living, so those things are valid. Those arguments are valid. But the person implementing their mandate stipulated by the Constitution, based on the resources they have available, say, this is what I can do. My interest as a party is to make sure that I also put measures in place at my level, because I'm an interest party in this time. You get it? So these conversations will go on.
I think
it doesn't
make sense to me, because I think, and respectfully, I'm not arguing.
At the end of the day,
I'm not being argumentative.
Illegally.
I'm not.
It's fine. We're having
I'm
a
not being
conversation.
argumentative, but
It's fine. We're having a conversation.
the reason why, in my estimation, the EC is continuing to do all these things is because those so-called interested parties, political parties, oftentimes take the burden upon themselves to transport people. So the EC thinks that, oh, even if I go ahead, the political parties, but they are mandated to do the job. All these political parties who are contributing, those are ancillaries. The state institution mandated by the Constitution to ensure that every single human being in Ghana who has attained the age of 18 and of sound mind registers is within the remit of the EC, and they must exercise that without any hindrance.
If we are going to have that conversation,
yes, I need to call an EC person.
No.
Okay.
Then we are going to as for the rationalization for their decisions, an EC person has to explain it. I was part of their decision. But what I'm saying is, you see, if we are going to have this conversation about institutions doing what they have to do the way it has to be done, I don't think I should move more than 5 kilometers to access healthcare. You understand where I'm coming from? It's a total culture that we've built. Today, Gabi was talking about the passport. The people that those who want the passport go and pay them money to, do they force them to pay? They don't. I'm supposed to register for a passport and get it whichever way I want it. If I want it mailed to me or I want to pick it physically.
Is it not because state institutions are not working and we are not holding them account?
Exactly.
So let's hold the EC to account.
So if we are going to have this conversation, then we need to have a holistic.
I don't mind. Let's start with the EC.
It cuts across all
so let's
our
start
things.
with the EC.
But
Hold
you
them
know
to
why?
account. Get them to work.
In the case of EC, the institutions that have interest in the party put their interest above how EC will operate. And we're all guilty of that. You get it?
Well,
because we have our people, I can tell you for a fact that every political party in this country, even the NDC, that is part of that suit, is mobilizing to do the registration.
No, that's when I agree
you
with
see
you.
the flyers.
That's when I agree with you.
You see the flyers of their MPs encouraging people to register.
And Gabby,
I can bet you that today, even here that we are sitting, the MPs in this are already mobilizing people to the
she has raised a very important point. And I think that, well, if you also admit that both of you are guilty, then it means that you are the reason why the EC is not doing what it's supposed to do. And other institutions which have the mandate to do specific things are not doing that. And she makes mention even of the passport office. I mean, even when you apply for passport in this country, it takes forever to get it. Driver's license, similar. So it appears that we do these things, we encourage the state institutions, and then we support them, we lend support to them in whichever way. And they continue to do all the things that they do without repercussions. So, the EC, you've gone to court, which is a very good step in my estimation. So, what next?
I disagree with the analogy that you've even created in the first place, because we the NDC has been the toughest critic of this Jean Mensa-led Electoral Commission, and we raised genuine concerns about the management of the whole electoral process by this woman. What is happening currently even lends credence to the things we've been saying over the last 6 years. You have political parties that were present at IPAC do a press conference and tell the whole country that Jean Mensa is doing exactly what it is that they opposed at IPAC. They took decisions and the woman did the complete 180 and started implementing something completely different. You have the NDC join these small parties in the suit in the court. I'm not steeped in law, so law is one area I don't particularly like to get myself entangled in. But Kwame, you've put a case before the court. You filed an application before the court to injunct a process. The Chief Justice, who is supposed to give a time for the hearing of the injunction to take place, says that she has traveled. She did not hand over to anybody so that in her absence, the judicial process can continue. She comes back, goes straight to legal bar conference. And then yesterday, then they now come and give a date on when they can hear a process, by which time even the whole exercise would have ended. Yesterday, I watched an interview with the operations director of EC, the former lecturer. What's his name? The round-faced man. Oh, damn, the name is not coming.
Who?
Is this Srebo? No, Srebo is operations, the deputy commissioner, the lecturer. The man.
Proceed, yeah.
Anyway, I was listening to him, and I was listening to him, and he was saying that he's now going to ask the legal department. They've been hearing the conversations going on. They'll see what they can do about it. But he's here to ask the legal department what is the way forward. And I'm like, so you are hearing conversations, you are hearing genuine concerns. Kwame, in Central Region alone, we are estimating from the last population and housing census that we have close to 200,000 new registrants who are going to, who qualify to be registered by this EC. Gomwa East alone is taking 20,000. Now, if you are going to do registration at Gomwa East District Office, and you are registering new registrants, not card replacement, not card replacement, new registrants, 18, those who have now turned 18, and those who couldn't register from 2019, 2020, 2021. All these people add up to 20,000. And you are telling me that this is not going to cause overload of your district office. Sometimes when we give recommendations to the EC, it's not that we are opposed to everything, because we have been in this thing for a very long time. We know that some things are operationally and logistically nightmare if you don't allow this the decentralization of this registration to the electoral areas. Kwame, in these communities, because the registration cuts across all economic, whether you are low income, middle income, high income, poor, extreme poverty, everybody wants to have the opportunity to go and register and have a say in who becomes leader of this country. Yep. And if you are telling somebody who is now going to travel from one jurisdiction to go and register in their constituency, and you are telling them that you now have to take transport, today, how much does it cost, even regular Okada car airline? And assuming that there are some places where people now have to come from other regions to come to their home constituency to register. People have to travel far and wide to come and register. Aside even those that you even want us to even attempt to mobilize, provide transportation from, so that they can move from their various hamlets and various communities to the district capital to go and register. Look at the cost involved to even political parties, and you hit the nail right on the head. It is not the responsibility of political parties to be doing that service, but it is something that because we need votes, we do. The law mandates the EC to do that, not the political parties.
Right.
So if the EC is not allowing people, it's not decentralizing the registration to the electoral areas, and rather centralizing in district offices, just so they can manipulate voter registration. When it becomes a nightmare, like what has happened at the NIA offices, where people have been queuing for days and still don't have Ghana card. And let me use this opportunity, Kwame, to entreat all Ghanaians that for us to fix this country, including even fixing the incompetence of the EC, we need new leadership. New leadership comes when you vote and change power from one dispensation to another dispensation. I entreat every single Ghanaian who is above the age of 18, sound mind, go and have yourself registered. And Kwame, let me also add this on this same conversation with the EC. Kwame, if you don't have the Ghana card, look at the number of people who don't have Ghana card. Look at the incompetence and the inefficiencies happening at passport office. And imagine Kojo Mensah from Gomwa East sitting in the farm somewhere who doesn't even have a passport, no Ghana card, and now needs guarantors to go and help him secure a voter ID card, has to provide transport to his 3 guarantors to follow him, just so he can get a voter ID card. Why do you put this incumbents on people just because they have a valid right to vote, and you, the EC, has the mandate to ensure that you expand the register, you create the opportunity for them to register, but you're only putting barriers in between that.
Yeah, but my time is up. So conclude for me, Gabi.
Just a quick one. I was thinking that Gabriela would have said that. What the EC is doing, what the EC is doing, what the EC is doing. But he said sometimes because we want votes.
Yeah, of course.
So you've taken a person to court. You say you don't eat this meat. Yeah. Right? Yeah. They serve you meat. You say you don't eat, but you're using your teeth to share it for others. You see the NDC.
Well, thank you very much.
I thought you would also said that we've been criticizing the EC since 1992.
Thank you very much.
She said what the G Mensa. You see the hypocrisy of the NDC.
Thank you. Lerato Mensa Saka is a member of the MPP Communications.
The alternative is
you are participant.
Thank you very much. Gabriela is the NDC's Central Regional Communications Officer. Still. Oh, but but who said you are not? You are. You are. I mean, you are. And yes, you are. Lerato Musa Saka is also a member of the MPP's communications team, leading member for that matter. It's been an absolute pleasure serving you with the Newspaper Review segment here on Good Morning Africa. Up next, there's an interview, and we're going to be talking about Pan-Africanism, revitalizing Pan-Africanism in the 21st century. You may want to share the feed because this story has to be told. Stay with us. Don't move a muscle. My name again is Kwame Usudanso.